Satu, dua, tiga. Betul. Welcome to the show, Dr. Andy. Thank you for your presence in this interview. Before to the questions, please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Andi Fadila. So that you can call me as Andy. And maybe today I'm gonna tell you about my opinion about video games, the negative and positive effect, and my advice to all of parents for their child. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Andy. First question, what the reasons behind the special attention to video games and the children?
The concern, right?
Yeah,
So, so my concern is that maybe that the video games could be nice things for the children, maybe a bad, but I will tell you a little bit for my concern. I just concerned that maybe video games will bring so many negative effects because it would be cause the children to become more lazier, or maybe it could damage their eyes. Yeah, I think I will explain it in the next session in the negative and positive impacts.
yeah, that's worrying, Doc. Then, what the possible dangers posed by excessive exposure to video games?
Okay, I think my biggest concern in negative effect is that it will be make them more lazy because they will spend all of their time to play video games. They will not study at all. They will, yeah, it just make them lazy, and it will cause to damage their eyes because video games has a big, how we call it, a big radiation to their eyes, so it will damage their eyes. And others, because some video games have the in-game item purchase, maybe it would be too expensive for them. It would waste their monies. And not not all video games have the negative effect. The positive effect for video games, maybe we can use it as the learning method in the school, in the university, or maybe in our neighborhood. Let's talk about the quiz. that's that video game is really helpful for the teacher, so that in the same time we could have a quiz, we could teach others, but in the same time too they will try to be the best in that game, so it will motivate them to learn by the video games. And also the positive effect, nowadays esport has become the biggest job in our country, or maybe in most country. For the example that we talk about, maybe PUBG Mobile, it has bring our country name to many countries. We have win many tournaments, and the positive effect of video games, it will become the best method for us to pass the quarantine, because in COVID-19, because of COVID-19, we cannot to hang out with our friends. So maybe video games could help us. Thank you.
Okay, so what the possible ways to avoid such hazards?
Uh, could you repeat the question one more time?
Okay, what the possible ways to avoid such hazards of video games?
Maybe the best method to prevent the hazard of video games, to make parents to keep control of their children. Maybe video games is a bad thing for many parents because it will make their children antisocial, lazy, but I think it's a good method, especially when the kids in 5 years old until 10 years old, their brain still develop, and maybe video games is a good method to learn for them. So my advice for the parents is to keep an eye for their child, because maybe video game is a bad things, but it has a positive effect, and so on. It will be have the positive effects, but it also have some negative effects. So keep an eye for your child while they're playing.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Andy, for your explanation about our special attention to video games and children. We know there are negative effects of video games, so we must avoid them. And thank you, Doctor. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you.